Hey friends, it's JayRy. Thanks for coming back to the channel today. We're in Anaheim, California, and we're going to answer the question, what was working at Disneyland like? I'm here with my friend Nick Costantino. We worked together at Disneyland when we were teenagers. We went to high school together and we worked together. We had one overlapping summer we worked in Disneyland in the summer of 1989. What was it like working there? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk all about Splash Mountain as well. This was the summer that Splash Mountain was opening. And by the second summer that Nick was working there, it was 1990, and that summer was the summer of Dick Tracy. So we'll talk a bit about Dick Tracy taking over Fantasyland as well. Anyway, we're going to take a walk through the park, we're going to reminisce, and we're going to answer that question, what was working at Disneyland like? So many people ask all the time, so take a watch and enjoy. Here we go.
Today we're at the Disneyland Resort. This is my great friend Nick. Now, if you watch the channel, there are three Nicks on my channel. This is original Nick, and then I've got Aloha Nick, and then I've got Thick Nick, but this is the Nick that started it all. Nick and I worked here at Disneyland before it was even a resort, when it was just Disneyland. We worked here when we were teenagers, and so we're gonna walk around, talk a little bit about what happened, what was different back in the day. This is a little time warp back to Disneyland in the 80s. Can we even believe that it was that long ago?
89.
Holy crap. Yeah, the end of the 80s. The end of the 80s. Anyway, thanks for watching. Let's have some fun. Here we go.
So when Nick worked at Disneyland here, he was in Fantasyland Foods, and that included areas like Yums and the Village House Restaurant, which was the restaurant right by Pinocchio. We also had Carnation Plaza Gardens, which is a restaurant that no longer exists, and also the Big Thunder Ranch, which also no longer exists. But those were Nick's main areas, and my department was outdoor vending, which means I was out selling popcorn and ice cream and balloons, and that would be anywhere in the park. So I never had a specific assignment. But we decided to walk and go specifically through Fantasyland to start and talk about some of the memories and things that we remember out in this area first.
But like all of these lights, you know, for Small World were never here. Right. Disney Afternoon, when it was here, had the cheapest blow-up balloons, you know, and then when they actually had the places that were serving the food.
I do remember the balloons.
So what we're talking about here is in 1991, Disney was promoting their afternoon television lineup, and it had shows like Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers and DuckTales and Tailspin, and it was all packaged as the Disney Afternoon. So they rethemed this whole area in Fantasyland, which is now called the Small World Mall, is what they typically refer to it. But yeah, they redecorated all of it. You can see these decorations here. They did not spend a lot of money on it, is the point that I was trying to get across to Nick here, but he didn't seem to remember.
When it was Disney Afternoon?
Yeah, not
they
here.
Literally, they just inflated long, like, tubes of air, and that was like the decoration. All different crazy colors.
I blocked that out.
They painted on the ground Disney Afternoon.
Right.
And had little mock-up fake things of like dark.
You remember like the Mardi Gras floats?
I remember that.
Yeah.
That was good though.
Yeah.
Like that was, they actually like spent some money on it. You know.
All right, I'm going to step out for a quick second to talk about Mardi Gras, because Nick and I got distracted there for a minute. Mardi Gras was the name of the parade when Disneyland turned 35. Oh my God, Disneyland's now more than 65, so this is a long time ago. But they had these big Mardi Gras type floats, and it was called Party Gras. They had the Dream Machine, which was in the hub. The Walt and Mickey statue wasn't there yet, so they had this big game show type machine where you could win prizes, including a car, and oh my gosh, Party Gras for Disneyland's 35th birthday was amazing. That was back in 1990. But yeah, that's what Nick was referring to here.
So that film kiosk.
Oh, right. Take a look at that. take a look at this right here, right?
This was the Penn Station.
Oh man, that makes me feel old. That tiny little stand used to be a place where you would buy film. Kodak sponsored it at one time. Polaroid was even a sponsor here, but you used to have to buy film for your camera as opposed to us now just clicking on our phone. Oh my God, that was so long ago. All right, so we're continuing to walk through Fantasyland, and we're getting all the way to the back here, just to the left of Small World, where the Fantasyland Theater is, and this is one of the places Nick used to work a lot, and we're going to get into that now because boy has it changed.
Anyway, so the theming has really improved over the years. Now, Nick, you used to work here when it was Young's again.
Yep.
And at that point, you know, was it still like dancing, or were they doing shows here?
Yep. When I started working here, it was still dancing.
Dancing.
Yep.
So this was all a dance floor, and it was like all
They had the
along.
bleachers. So the bleachers that are on an angle. So the bleachers that were on an angle were there, but all the bleachers that are on the flat, that was the dance floor.
Right.
So you could sit on the bleachers up above and look down on the people dancing. So these were always here, but everything on the floor was not there.
And the brown walls that you see to the side were all of these little video screens. They were like little, like 13-inch televisions that were all like in sequence that had like different graphics and things. Like for the end of the 1980s, it looked really kick-ass. It was, I mean, beforehand it was dancing and they had Videopolis, and then eventually they moved it into being more shows. Beauty and the Beast was a full stage production here, which then
morphed into the New York show.
It was so successful they turned it into a whole Disney department of, hey, let's make musicals and put them on the road. And this is where that was actually born, which was really amazing. And it's actually perfect timing today because we're taping this just post-pandemic. I mean, we're kind of almost done with the pandemic. And luckily, we don't have 50 screaming kids wanting a turkey leg behind us right now. So you can actually like enjoy this for half a moment here. Now, let's flip around really quick and talk about this train station. So back in the day, going way back in the day, there wasn't even a train station here. And then eventually they made a little Fantasyland train station to which you could get off here to dance. And once people came out of the tunnel, you know, for the train, that's when they saw like the music and the lights, and then people were like, oh my God, let's get off so we can go party and have fun here.
Just on the other side of the tunnel is Frontier.
Yes, right. So literally you're coming out of the Wild West, you come through the tunnel, and then here was like this crazy dance stage. They made a station for that. And then by 91, they created Mickey's Toontown. So then they completely redid the train station to match that. And that's still what we have today, you know, which is damn near 30 years later, which is kind of crazy. We spent so much time here. Again, you worked in foods, so you were working at counters like this. I was working in vending, which means I was selling popcorn, ice cream, balloons, and actually in just a minute too, we're gonna go look at the first place I ever sold a product. The first place I ever worked in this park, and we'll show you that in just a sec.
Well, actually, it's going to be more than a sec before Nick and I walk over in that direction. But quickly, I wanted to show you some more photos. These are photos of when Nick was working in Fantasyland Foods. And you can see this is a backstage area first where this picture was taken. And then this next picture, we've got Lisa and Diane, and I don't know the lady in the middle. And then Lisa was so kind to send me these photos. I asked Nick, and you know he couldn't find photos when he was working there, but Lisa sure did. Here's another picture. There's Alan, there's Nick, and I don't know the other two folks. Again, wasn't my department. And here is Lisa one more time. And is this possibly a Clarabelle's costume? It looks like there's an ice cream cone on Lisa's lapel there. Not quite sure. But anyway, thanks again for sending those pictures and giving us another dose there of what it was like to work at Disneyland. Thanks, Lisa.
All right, so Nick and I have a lot of great memories at Disneyland, working at Disneyland. And isn't it weird, though, like after all these years, like we worked here, but the amount of time we worked here compared to how long we've visited here as friends and now as fathers, like we've been here 1,000 times more as like families, right, than
Yeah.
we actually like worked here, right?
Yeah.
So this was one of the original locations you worked at. Didn't look like this at all back in the day. What was it
Pink.
called?
Yums.
Yums.
YUMZ. It was square, and it was pink,
Right.
and it had neon around it.
And kind of and didn't it wasn't the theming kind of like the Vans logo where it was like checkers of like pink and teal
Yes.
checkers
Yes, it was.
on the side of
Very
it.
good.
It was like the cheapest
Very
theming
good.
ever.
It
And
was a pink box with checkerboard tape
yes.
around the outside.
Yes. And Nick was just saying, well, gosh, this isn't the original building, right? Well, 30 years later, that thing was ready to fall down
Yeah.
because it wasn't like supposed to be
Something-
temporary.
Yeah, exactly. And something must have come up because obviously the rest of it is the same, but that particular building they felt like they had to replace.
Right. And over time, all of this is upgraded because even when you look here, when we were here, none of this canopy was here. All of it, like, they had a couple little, like, runners to try and, like, shade you a little bit, but none of this, like, permanence was here like it is today, let alone all the greenery. Like, there was no shade out here. This was, like, just, like, flat
Well,
and hot.
also, right. And also, don't forget, back then it was only open at night, so it didn't really matter.
Oh, okay. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
So because it was like the dance club, then it was only open at night.
Right.
Okay. All right. Now,
So I think that had a lot to do with the cover and all that.
right. All right. Now we're going to flip the camera. Okay. Now let's look right over here. All right. You see where these balloons are just behind the tree? We're going to walk over here next and we're going to talk about one of the biggest pieces of Disney magic that ever was in this park right over here. All right. We're going to go over there now. All right, I gave you a big teaser when we were standing by the theater that this was one of the most amazing locations in Disneyland. I'm being sarcastic. Where we're standing right now in the summer of 1989, before there was a Toontown, there was a big wooden box where they were selling frozen lemonade. And because that summer was the summer that Dick Tracy came out, the big Disney gamble of making like a live action movie that was not dirty, but it was like a little too adult for Disney. But they themed this area for Dick Tracy, and the name of this lemonade stand was
The Ice House.
The Ice House. And it had, we'll put a picture up of it.
And keep in mind, too, that because this wasn't here,
Yes,
this was flat.
right.
So this
was
didn't
all
slope down. This
Right.
was just flat.
This was all flat, and you just had this big square box with a boarded with a nailed up gangster picture
Yeah.
and the Ice House on it. And so literally it
Like
was
those fireworks stands that you see.
it was exactly like a fireworks
Yeah.
stand. That's the perfect way to describe it. So it was just the simplest thing. And again, Disney was still in this phase before they had all these giant blockbusters like Little Mermaid and Lion King that started, restarting the engine of them making a lot of money. So there was this cheap as hell stand,
Yeah.
and that was my department. So your department was the food.
Yeah.
Technically, the Ice House was my department, which was outdoor vending.
I didn't even know.
And we were selling, like the frozen lemonade.
Right.
And here's a little secret from back in the day. When the lemonade would come in these big vats, right? And you would open it up, it had such an odor and such an attraction to it, the bees would come instantly. So half the time, we'd be having to scoop the bees out of the frozen lemonade before we served it because the bees were on it like instantly. And another little secret about it is that technically, as a vendor, if you were assigned to that, it was called, you were working the lemon quench, but we called it the lemon stench. So that was our own nickname for it. Did you have any weird things when you were working in the food areas of like just crazy little things that would happen in the kitchen?
Yeah, I don't know if I could talk about it though, because
It's been a long time.
yeah. I mean, when we were at the Yums kitchen, we would make pizzas, and we would steam hot dogs, and we would make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches out of Mickey Mouse, stamped Mickey Mouse out of the bread. And, an occasional hot dog might get thrown at somebody and perhaps, maybe a some tomato sauce might get flung,
Right.
across the room, and
Right.
things of that nature.
I blame Disney for thinking that they could give any type of like responsibility to 16 and 17-year-olds.
And don't forget, when we were in the kitchen at Yum's,
Yeah.
this was about 100 miles from any supervisor, because this
Oh,
was
right.
no man's land back
Right.
then.
There was nothing
So
out
there
here
were
back
6
then.
of us working this location, and we
Yeah.
were kind of just there all day. So.
That would happen all the time. And so the other one of the other notable things, so let's turn around real quick. So obviously, right, this is Small World, which has been here since the 60s. And so behind Small World is also where the parade comes out. Now, again, your department was more stationary. My department was always moving around. So we were selling little glow sticks and the popcorn and the ice cream and the balloons and all of that. But when the parade would come, it literally cuts the park in half, right? And so when we needed to go deliver during the parade, it was a nightmare because you've got this big bulky cart trying to bring refills on the ice cream, refills on the little glow necklaces and stuff that back then were really cheap. Today they've got all these elaborate spinny things that they can charge $20 for, but literally back then it was a piece of plastic with some toxic goo in it that we literally had to like slap on the ground to make them like activate, and we would have to like try and cross the parade route, which started right back here, in order to get those deliveries. But you're completely right, this was like the dead end of the park, and you could get away with a lot over here. Yeah. When we get to the not safe for kids episode, we'll talk about some of these things that happen in the forest too, but that's a whole other episode.
So in case you couldn't tell, Nick and I and all of our friends at the time loved working at Disneyland. It was such fun because it didn't feel like work a lot of the time. We made friends, we socialized, we hung out afterwards, sometimes in the park, sometimes we'd go other places. They always had these legendary Christmas parties as well. Now, back in the day, Disneyland used to do 2 Christmas parties for their employees. One night, half the park worked, and the other half of the park got to have fun. The second night, it was reversed, so everybody technically was able to have a night off and have fun for the Disney Christmas party. It was a great time for all of us friends to get together and just love that Disney was doing something special for us. We weren't making a lot of money, so when Disney would do little perks and things like that, it was great. And these same groups of people, we would hang out. This is my friend Ray, Raymond Lowe. I've lost touch with you, Ray. If anybody knows how to find Ray, please let me know. I would love to catch up with him. But this is my friend Ray. We both worked in outdoor venue together, and we were good friends. We would hang out. We'd go out to eat. We'd go to Oingo Boingo concerts. Nick and I did that a lot as well, so it definitely was something for the time of really having a great social life and being young in this wonderful place of Disneyland. It was such a special time. It was such a tradition for the Oingo Boingo concerts, in fact, to be in Southern California. Danny Elfman and the band were always in Southern California for Halloween, which made it even more special that we had the most amazing night for this ska type punk band to be playing rock and roll, whatever it is you tried to characterize them as. But they were always here for Halloween. And so, yeah, we would see them at Irvine Meadows, and that place doesn't exist anymore as well, which is a bummer. But great shows, and we went all the way through, I believe it was 1994, when Nick and I were at their farewell tour. And that ended up being at Universal Amphitheater. But yeah, Oingo Boingo was definitely somehow tied in to Disneyland. And then you fast forward all these years later, Danny Elfman ends up being the voice of Jack Skellington. So isn't it a small world? Here's a few more pictures from our very active social life. I have no idea where we were going in this picture here, but this second picture, I definitely know that we were going to Club 33. That was Ray and Nick and I, one of the first trips of many over the years that we've ended up being at Club 33. What a special treat that is as well. If you haven't seen, I've got episodes about Club 33 as well, so check those out too.
All right, so we're leaving Fantasyland and crossing into Frontierland. Interestingly, when we were growing up, this wasn't even an option. Like, this is where Fantasyland dead ended. But they expanded it in time, and this became Big Thunder Ranch, at which you access through the Big Thunder Trail here at Disneyland, which is where we're walking right now. And Nick actually worked at Big Thunder Ranch for a while.
Yep.
God, that barbecue was good.
Barbecue restaurant with the barn, and they had a petting zoo.
Right. And the crazy part is today it is a giant entrance to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Oy.
Yep, this was the entrance to the barbecue.
So the thing that's so funny to me is like, okay, so you worked at the ranch, right, when we were working here together at the park, again, many, many moons ago. But then we fast forward and we ate so many meals together there with our kids because it was there for so long. Now it's completely gone.
Yeah.
So now it still has the theming of what was Big Thunder Ranch, but then you go down this little tunnel and you get to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and the $1 billion expansion that they had there. What do you remember about working at the ranch?
It was great. I mean, I just remember working there. A lot of friends that I met, and we'd come in and you know, depending if you came in, if you were going to work the grill, you'd be like, you know, barbecuing the chicken and the ribs, or if you were in the back making coleslaw. And then all along here, there were chuck wagons.
That was one of the coolest.
Chuck wagons. It was fun.
It was a great theming.
Yeah,
because like you literally were getting like
a truck
served
wagon,
the food
like on a
like
whatever.
Yeah, like old-fashioned wagons.
Yeah,
it was really cool. Like I don't know, I feel like sometimes now when they're doing the restaurants here, the theming has been lost. I feel like the ranch was an excellently themed restaurant.
Yeah,
there was even a stage, right? And you had all the little, you know, like ranch style picnic tables out, and the red and white tablecloths,
and you had they served back a long time ago. They served on, you know, stainless steel plates, and mason jar mugs and stuff. You know, it was like it was very in line with what you would expect.
Stuff they won't put out today because they think you're going to use it as a weapon,
or you'd steal it,
or take it home.
Exactly.
They can't put out $8 plates.
No,
not the ranch anymore. No. Oh God, I miss that place. And then what was weird is that as time goes by too, and you know, like Disney rolls with the times. Well, you know, America is getting bigger and eating more. By the time the ranch closed, it was an all-you-can-eat buffet. Which was not ever what it started as. No. And so the price got higher, but they just like literally just kept bringing buckets and buckets of the cornbread and the beans.
I'll be honest, I didn't like it at the end.
It was losing its quality. It was not as good.
No.
Right. No, but we're not going to be the grumpy old man. Back in my day. But it's true. It did go down a little bit. All right, one more fun fact about the ranch, Nick.
There were only 2 places in the park that you could get root beer, and that was on Tom Sawyer's Island.
Oh my gosh!
And at the ranch.
And now they don't even serve food on Tom Sawyer's Island.
No.
All of the area that used to be food service is now just backstage for Fantasyland.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No more food. Oh my God! And way back in the day, you actually would reach in the barrel and pull out a pickle.
Yep.
Sanitary nightmare by today's standards, but my God, they were good.
Yep.
What's that rash I had?
Well, we're continuing our journey here with Nick and I, and talking about the days when we worked at the park, and just remembering how things have changed over the years, you know. And it's so great too. We've got Becky and Coco helping us out here with the filming, but we're headed now. This is coming from Star Wars Galaxy's Edge back towards Frontierland, and we're headed towards Big Thunder Mountain. And this is the first place that I ever worked, the first place I ever trained at Disneyland, and we're going to get into that story here.
Okay, so now we're in the place where Jason started working, which is now nothing.
Right. It's now a drain, you know. But yeah, so this is on the back of Big Thunder Trail. Also, back in the day, this was the first place I ever worked in Disneyland. I was right here, and this was an ice cream stand, and this was the first place I ever got trained, right? And I tell you, the view is great because if you look right here, you get to see Big Thunder Mountain, and every 60 seconds a train comes zipping by. So it's like, wow, that's really cool. Now, here's what was hilarious about the first day ever I worked at Disneyland. Right here, I'm learning how to do the cash and count the ice cream and make change and all of that stuff, right? I'm 16 years old, so like this is all like new, right? It was so much fun. Here comes the train, right? It was so much fun. Now Disney was very, very strict back then, so no facial hair, I never had an earring, but like no earrings. Hair had to be like cut just right? If you had a 5 o'clock shadow, no, you were sent home, right? Very, very stringent. God forbid, no ink, absolutely not, right? So they were so strict. And my trainer told me as we were sitting here selling ice cream, but it was so sleepy out here. Now it's crazy busy all the time because that's the new Disneyland for you. But it was so quiet. It was a great place to train because there was no one out here, right? My trainer says, be really careful how you talk to the guests. And I'm like, what does that mean? I'm 16. I'm a Disney fan. I got Disney posters in my house. I'm a super fan. I got an annual pass. And he said, well, there was a person who was selling. So back in the day, they used to sell Coke and Diet Coke in the can, like literally like on refrigerated carts, right? And they said that he was selling Coke. He was working at the Coke cart. And a lady came up and ordered a Diet Coke. And he said, hold on, it's getting loud again. Train break. The lady buys a Diet Coke and he says, good for you. And she complained because she was heavyset. This was in 1989, before there was even a cancel culture, and he got fired. So in outdoor vending in 1989, that was the story of legend of be careful how you talk to the guests, because at that point, like, people expected good service and you got good service. Nick, when you went to interview here, do you remember how hard it was to get a job here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we interviewed in groups of 3.
Yes.
Yeah, and
if you were lucky, one out of those 3 would get hired.
Right.
And so it was really tough to get a job here. Now it's a little bit different. They're having trouble getting people back because we're coming out of the pandemic. But back then, it was super competitive. So there's the train again. But that was one of the things. Like, my God, when he told me that story, I was like, oh my God, I better not say anything wrong because I don't want to lose this job for $6 an hour. Oh my God. But we were so happy to be here.
Yeah.
I mean, did you like this was like so,
oh, yeah.
it was so great to be here.
I applied before I even turned 16.
Right.
I had my interview before I turned 16. I got hired. They said, we'll start you a week after you turn 16.
Right.
So that's kind of this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Oh, God. It was such good times. Yeah.
All right, as we continue talking about what it was like to work at Disneyland, again, this is the summer of 1989 when Nick and I worked there together. And this summer was all about Splash Mountain. So Disney had announced that they were building Splash Mountain for some time. It was a long project. Back in the day, whenever Disney would announce a new project, they would let the public in on it in the park. There was this shop on Main Street here. It was called Disney Showcase. And inside, they had scale models of different projects that they were working on. It was always really exciting as a kid to go in there because it was a preview of what was to come. Now, this model for Splash Mountain sat in there for a very long time because it was the newest project, the biggest project they had done basically since the Fantasyland expansion in 1983. So this model was in there, and if you look very carefully, it says January 1989 on the little, placard there of when it was going to open. Well, that didn't happen. There were so many complications with Splash Mountain, and I was there basically every week taking construction pictures, watching it go up inch by inch, and ultimately it ended up opening on Disneyland's birthday, which was July 17th, 1989. But it was definitely fun to watch all the progress. What wasn't fun, I'm sure, is the marketing division between Disney and McDonald's, who had to keep changing their signs because the opening date kept getting missed. The signs first said opening January 1989. Then early spring, then late spring, then summer. Then they just said July 17th, 1989, finally, when they missed so many deadlines. here was part of the marketing campaign that was hyping the ride on television.
Something is happening at McDonald's. Buy a Coca-Cola. Peel the sticker. And play Splash for Cash. You could win $25,000 instantly. Super discounts on McDonald's food, vacations via Delta Airlines, or free passports to Disneyland. So drop into McDonald's today, play Splash for Cash, and celebrate Splash Mountain coming to Disneyland this summer. After all, you wouldn't want to be left high and dry.
How exciting that was, the idea of getting McDonald's fries for 25 cents. Did you see those prices of that commercial? Holy moly. Makes you realize that was a very, very long time ago. You can't get nothing for 25 cents, even at the simplest of fast food joints. Anyway, so yeah, that was the McDonald's campaign. They were trying to press for Splash Mountain to open. And so that's the marketing of it. But, let's even just back up for a second of how Splash Mountain even came to be. So there was this new push with Michael Eisner and Frank Wells at the company for new attractions. They really wanted to liven up the parks. And this idea went from basically, 87, 88, 89 until they opened it. Tony Baxter was working on this project very thoroughly, and he's credited with the entire idea. You can, look that up if you want to hear everything that he said about it. But, the executives wanted a log flume ride put into the park, and the Imagineers at first weren't really feeling it. They didn't think that was unique enough for Disney. So Tony, really went in his mind and came up with, well, wait a minute, what if we make it a story about Song of the South and involve these characters from the 1946 movie that has Brer Bear and Brer Fox and Brer Rabbit and, Mr. Bluebird and the Uncle Remus stories. And so, it was a perfect fit at the time. Now, in today's standards, they're going to be theming it out and changing the story of it. But at this moment, Tony Baxter had been working on, he was credited with a lot of work on Big Thunder Mountain. He was one of the star Imagineers. And so he had been around a while, and Splash Mountain became his project. For me, the anticipation of this ride opening was unbearable. So not only was I a fan of the Disney parks, Disneyland specifically, but also I was working there. So again, when we say, what was it like to work at Disneyland? It was amazing because you literally were watching them construct multi-million-dollar projects, and we got to try them out first. So because the ride was delayed and they were having so many issues, they had dry runs during the day and at nighttime, and cast members, if it was, if you had the green light that they were testing it out, we got to go and actually ride it. And I'll show you some pictures I took from the very beginning. They're very barbaric, but we'll get to those. And then I'll show you the whole ride, as it turned out as well. But the cool thing of watching the construction go along, here I am. I'm 16 years old, and I'm sitting around, and this is one of the benches that they used to re-theme the area. So it used to be called Bear Country. Then they updated the name to Critter Country because once Splash Mountain was going to be opening here, there were going to be all sorts of animals besides bears. So they wanted to broaden it out, quite a bit. They had changed the Indian trading post to now it became the Briar Patch, which, was this gift shop basically that they had all these Splash Mountain items in. And they did a great job theming that. When you walk inside the Briar Patch, it's got carrots and the briars and the brambles coming out of the ceiling. So they did a great job with that. Over time, they've kind of dumbed it down, and it's got a lot of Winnie the Pooh merchandise in it now. But I understand times change. One of the other things I really liked about when they remodeled Critter Country is they did keep some of the items that were there in the buildings. So the buildings were kind of the same, but Teddy Bear's Swingin' Arcade still got to stay. They changed the name of the candy shop, and they changed the name of the other gift shop to Crocodile Mercantile, and then it got changed again after that. But lots of changes, but it really became a full service area that had so much more life and attention because everybody was coming to the back of the park now because Splash Mountain was a brand new e-ticket, full bore attraction that people had to see. All right, so let's get to the actual attraction, Splash Mountain. Now, the footage you're going to see today is not from 1989, but this is the attraction in its entirety that opened in 1989, the summer when I worked at Disneyland. And again, it was such a blast. But let's check out some Splash Mountain right now.
Safety, just stay seated with your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the log, and be sure to watch your kids have a zippity-doo-dah ride.
Para su seguridad, permanezca sentado y mantenga las manos, brazos, pies y piernas dentro del barco y cuide a los pequeños.
Have a zippity-doo-dah ride.
You are laughing. That rare rabbit. He learned his lesson all right. But I'm afraid he learned it too late. Laughing place. We got more.
Wow, what a drop. So the drop there into the Briar Patch when Brer Fox throws Brer Rabbit, aka us, into the Briar Patch, that's about 60 feet long. And when it opened, it was the longest and fastest log flume drop in the world. It's been topped since then, but wow, what a great ride. The top of the peak of Chickapin Hill, the top of Splash Mountain, I believe that's 87 feet. Some people get that confused. They think 87 feet is the drop, but no, 60 feet is the drop. Now let's hit in for the grand finale. So when you round the bend here, it is really amazing because Splash Mountain's finale, you think that it's over after you hit that long drop, but no, you come in and here is this giant show scene inside just as you're coming back. You've got the alligators. These characters, if you didn't know, were all animatronics in a previous attraction that was called America Sings. Used to be in Tomorrowland, and they repurposed them all and put them on this giant showboat. The showboat wasn't in America Sings, but these characters were. And this is the biggest animatronic sequence they've ever made in an attraction, with that giant showboat moving. You got Brer Bear here, who's still got his butt sticking out. That gator's trying to bite him. And now, good old Brer Rabbit has outfoxed them and made his escape. Yes, what an amazing attraction. And again, this was all back in 1989. It has really stood the test of time, how great this attraction still is. So there is the ride of Splash Mountain, the full POV, the full ride through, and most of it is the same as it was in 1989. I filmed this just recently in 2021, but there's not a lot that has actually changed, so it's still a very accurate depiction of how the ride opened. Now, there's been some talk recently that they're going to replace Splash Mountain with a Princess and the Frog story overlay instead. And, the rumor is that they're, predicting backlash with the change in climate about, cultural issues that were in the 1946 movie Song of the South. So I understand them not releasing the movie, but stopping the ride, is kind of silly in my opinion, because they already addressed it when they made the ride. There is no Uncle Remus. There is nothing about plantations and, anything of what the backdrop of the story was. It's literally just the cartoon characters, and they're not exhibiting racism on each other. So I feel that Disney is being proactive to stop a fire before it starts, because there's been such a very aggressive cancel culture in recent years. So I think they're trying to be ahead of the game. But do I feel that it really needs to be done? No, I don't. But, in today's standards, you only need a couple of people to start, a boycott or start a blog that gets people upset about it, and then I think Disney is I think it's a smart business move. Creatively, I don't think that Princess and the Frog is going to make more people interested in the attraction. It's still going to be Splash Mountain. It's still going to be the log ride. It's still going to be the ride that people want to get on so that they can cool off on the hot days. So, in hot days, that is the longest line in Disneyland, and rightly so. People want to absolutely, cool off in those hot Orange County days. And, when we circle back to the topic of what was it like to work at Disneyland, this illustrates it. It was fun. It was easy. There wasn't so much thought about controversy or difficulties. It felt like the guests were there to have a wonderful time. They were there to learn. They were there to be there with friends and family and enjoy themselves. And, I think things have shifted. I think cast members have a more difficult time now dealing with guests that can be more demanding, especially right now when people are paying a really high price and there's been a pandemic and not all the rides are open, and there's all these rules of how far you have to stay away from people. And Disney is trying their best, but I know it's not as fun for cast members as it used to be when we were there. It was really a really great and special time being able to be a cast member in the late 80s. And I promised you I was going to show you some pictures from when I actually went on Splash Mountain right in the beginning. And these are awful, but I'm going to show them to you anyway. So the funny part about how many times they show Brer Bear in the ride, and one of my friends from work ended up calling him Brer Butt, because every time he gets tied up in something, it's like they just keep accentuating his butt. He gets stuck in the honey. He's, on his butt swirling around. The alligator is coming right for his butt as well. So yeah, there's Brer Butt. Look how the flash ruined the vultures there too. My God. Thank goodness I've improved my photography skills over the years. Just slightly. Something else really cool about finding old photos, it's like sometimes you never know what you're going to come across. This is actually the back of my uncle's head in the Splash Mountain log, ready to go down the final drop. And it's my Uncle Harris, and he's since passed, but I had no idea that I had this photo. And so, yeah, we took that drop. We were in the same log, and then this giant blast of mist of us going through the drop. And yeah, okay, that'll be the end of my archaic photography of Splash Mountain that I uncovered for you.
So, Nick, I really appreciate you coming on the channel. So, again, Nick and I have been friends since high school, which is when we worked here. And so that's why I thought, hey, let's come to the park and let's talk about these times when we were here. Nick, what do you think for you is the reason why this place is still special for you?
Well, it's been a lot of memories, and it was just, growing up not too far from here, coming here since I was 3 years old.
Yeah.
Really, it's just always been a part of my life. Always wanted to work here. You know, worked in the studio, but my wife in the studio.
Right.
It's just been part of our lives.
Yeah,
So,
and it's all progressed. Like
Yeah.
even like we both grew up in Orange County. We went to the same high school. We both ended up, working here. We still have come for years and years and years, bringing our families here. So as much as things have changed, and we sometimes gripe about how they've changed things or this and that, this is still one of the most amazing experiences ever.
Yeah.
And I don't know, for me, like I feel so privileged that I did get to work here, even as it was such a short time. And that's when I also learned that, like, long term, I didn't want to work for Disney, but I wanted to appreciate Disney. So we worked here, and now we don't work for Disney, but we still can really like enjoy it.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
anyway,
Yeah.
thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for watching. It is JayRyWorld right here on Instagram and on YouTube. Thanks for watching. I hope you consider subscribing to the channel. And we have memberships available now too. We'll see you next time. Bye guys.
Wow, Nick and I have so many memories at this park. Disneyland Anaheim, the original, and of course where we started our careers too. Crazy. I mean, these were some of our first jobs. And there's no way I could have understood then, at 16 years old, working at the ice cream stand, selling glow sticks, working for Disney, all the lessons that were going to be learned. Working for Disneyland was a dream. And working for the Disney stores was a dream also. I have an episode coming up about that you can check out too. So I feel really blessed that I've had, multiple very unique experiences in my life. Working for Disney at a time that there was so much fun, but there was so much family. Like the park, there was only one park then. So people knew each other. You really had your team, and it wasn't a guess as to where you were going to be assigned or at what park. It was just, I felt like it was definitely more close-knit, back in those days. And, Nick and I have talked about it quite a bit because we see how things have evolved. But we really know that it was an absolute blessing to be there when we were. And thank you to all the other friends that we've met along the way too. Like Nick's friends, are very, great and friendly to me as well. Nick's friends are so wonderful and hospitable as well. We've, vacationed with them. We still visit, with them. And Lisa was so great to help, get me some photos for this video. And here's a picture of her, with my daughter, when she was just a newborn. And that was, many, many years ago now too. So yeah, working for Disney definitely created its own family. And I still am so blessed with it to this day. Let's check out some fireworks as we say goodbye. Enjoy.
Swingers roll, jungle VIP. I reached the top and had to stop, and that's what's bothering me. I wanna be a man cub and stroll right into town and be just like the other men. I'm tired of walking around. Oh.
Where'd you dig this bozo up?
Welcome, foolish mortals. The happy haunts have received your sympathetic vibrations and are beginning to materialize. They're assembling for a swinging wake. No flash pictures. Please. As the doors creak and the tombstones quake, happy haunts materialize. Grim Gringos come out to socialize. Now don't close your eyes and don't try to hide. True out in a dark disguise. Grim Gringos come out to socialize. As the moon climbs high on the head of tree. Creepy creeps weary eyes. Grim Gringos come out to socialize. When you hear the bell of a requiem bell, restless bones etherealize. Grim Gringos come out to socialize.
Thank you guys for watching. It is JayRyWorld right here on Instagram and on YouTube. Thanks for watching. I hope you consider subscribing to the channel. And we have memberships available now too. We'll see you next time. Bye guys.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to Becky and Coco for helping with the filming as well. We'll see you guys next time.